Salve a tutti, sono Almaro e benvenuti in un nuovo video. Oggi siamo qui per fare un'intervista a Mathias Lillmåns, noto come Vreth, famoso per essere cantante dei Fintroll e degli Endocians. Prima di iniziare lo ringrazio per la sua disponibilità, per aver accettato di essere qui oggi. Vi lascio l'intervista e vi auguro buona visione. Nice to meet you. Thank you for here today.
Hello.
Why you started to do music? Why you started to do with metal music? Tell me about the beginning of your career, your influences, and yeah, your beginnings as a musician.
I think I've sort of been a musician whole my life. I grew up in a very musical home. I grew up with a dad that was on tour, played in bands when I was young. We had instruments around the house. I yeah when I was younger, and we listened to a lot of music all the time. So at an early age, I already started with playing piano, um, and I had my first bands. When I was in elementary school, I was maybe 7 when I started my first band, and yeah, so the music has always been there, but in the beginning, I listened to, like older rock music, and that 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 started to go into maybe like, like glam rock and heavy metal, like Scorpions, Alice Cooper, Whitesnake, Black Sabbath, all that kind of music later. And and when I got to high school, when I think I was around. Yeah, maybe around 14, something like that. It started changing this like hard rock or heavy metal music started changing a little bit into punk music, and then through punk music I found death metal, and death metal led into black metal, and here I am now, and listening to like all kinds of metal music. So music has been, and music and rock music has been there since I was really young. So I think I didn't have a choice. I just became a musician. It was meant to be.
Let's talk about your first band and your work with Carnaticum and Degenerate.
Yeah, and also, well, my first real band was called actually Twilight Moon. That was a band that I started with my childhood friend when we were, I think it was probably around 97 something. That was the first real band with a complete lineup that I had. Well, I had some, school bands and stuff like that. But first band, when we wrote our own music, that was Twilight Moon. That was around 97. And yeah, I started playing bass in that band. I had already played bass like for myself, for a couple of years. And we started that as a trio in the beginning. We were a drummer, a guitar player, and a bass player, and that's actually how my career within like the metal scene as a singer started over there, because we didn't have any singers. We didn't have any singers around in the city where I lived that was, the same age as us. Some of us needed to do the vocal parts, and that's where I started singing, because everybody thought that, the drummer, he had, blast beats and double pedals and everything, so I couldn't sing. Uh, the guitar player had a lot of melodies and leads and guitar solos and stuff to do, so he couldn't sing. But I was only the bass player, so so that's why I decided to try singing in the band. And a couple of years later, in well, actually 1 year later, in 98, we went into to a small studio to record, and that's the first recording I have of myself singing in this kind of style. And so that's where it all started. Carnaticum, the band I had, that came a little bit around the same time, maybe a year or something later. I actually played guitar in that band. And later I also was singing, but in the beginning I only played guitar. Yeah, and Degenerate, I was the bass player. So in the beginning I mostly played in all the bands. Everybody knows me now, from Fintroll and Oceans and bands like that as a singer. But in the beginning, I was a bass player or guitar player. So yeah, by sort of chance, I started doing vocals, and yeah, and here we are.
Let's talk about your joining Fintroll, your works with the band, the concept, the inspiration about the album, and yeah, your work with Fintroll album by album.
Oh yeah, well, Fintroll was that was also kind of thing that happened. I happened to be in the right place at the right time. I was studying. I was studying actually television and film sound back then in a small city here in Finland, and the school actually where I went to, Katla, the first singer of Fintroll, he was also there studying. He was studying painting, and he was he's a painter. He paints a lot of he does really awesome paintings actually, and we were together in school, and we actually lived in the same house, him and me, and we learned to know each other. And at some point, the guys from Fintroll, when they kicked out Vilska, they actually called our first singer Katla to ask if because he knew that we were in that he was in a school with like a art school, and that there could be some musicians around that actually speak Swedish. So they asked him if he knows any singers around there, and he said, "Yeah, I actually have this guy here in school with me that is a singer. Has got some metal bands over here, and I can ask him if he wants to if he's interested." And I said, "Yeah, of course I'm interested." And yeah, some I went to Helsinki to rehearse with the guys, and at some point they just said like, "Yeah, let's do this, Uh, um, if you're interested into getting to come for the summer to do summer festivals with us, that's okay." And I said like, "Yeah, I want to do that." There was all kinds of cool festivals like Wacken and Summer Breeze and Rock Hard and all those really great festivals that summer. So I was really interested in doing it. And during that summer, I think it was. Yeah, maybe after the first or second gig, actually, they asked me if, yeah, so do you want to also record the album next autumn with us? Because we had already, the Urjordens Djup album was already, it was not really totally written, but maybe two-thirds of the songs were already done. And we started writing more carefully and trying to figure out those. The structures of all the songs and everything, and yeah, and in the autumn in 2006 we went into the studio. And was we well all my Fintroll albums have been recorded at Sonic Pump Studios in Helsinki. And yeah, we tried something. That was the first time Fintroll went there. It's a really cool studio, and that was so nice. We we were like uh, almost around the clock for I think it was 3 weeks, something, 20 something days. We were there in the studio, and yeah, we made the first album. And Fintroll wasn't, maybe that big back then. We had a couple of some good festival summers, and I think two European tours back then, and also a short American tour. But with that album, we actually got a lot of more attention, and we got really, really a lot of touring. We toured 150 shows per year, maybe something like that. And yeah, we were on the road all the time. And yeah, that was Yrjö. That's how that was my first years in Fintroll. And but then in 2010 we had already. we had booked the studio again to Sonic Pump for the Niflwind album. We did. I think it was the same amount of time we had, something around 3 weeks again to record the album and we record and mix the album and yeah we had I think it was also autumn. No, wait, was that 2009 maybe? Yeah, it's a little bit blurry which years was which. I think it was Niflwind was released in 2010, right? Yeah, it should be. So that's 2009, yeah. So in 2010, when we released that album, it totally blew up. We got really big. There was like this. The album had a couple of really big hit songs like Solsagan and Under bergets rot, for example. And those songs, they really took us to new places. We toured a lot in a really even more than before. We toured almost 200 shows per year sometime. And yeah, we toured all over the planet. We had our first South American tours. We had our first times in Australia and stuff like that. And the band got really big. We did these big festival tours also with like thousands of people every night. It was a really good time, to do. And I think maybe folk metal was a really big thing. Though, like 2010, 11, 12, even 2013 still. There was all the big bands, like Korpiklaani and Ensiferro Munsaro were touring a lot with Eluvatia started becoming a big band, and Ailstorm was just like starting and getting bigger and bigger. And it was a really great time to for folk metal. But I think, at some point there was too many of these folk metal bands around, and it started to the quality of the new bands that came into the scene, they started to get worse. It started to decline. So we decided to not associate us so much anymore with the folk metal scene, and then we went into the studio in 2012 to do the Blodswept album. That was a little bit different. There wasn't that much folk anymore. We went a little bit in some kind of uh, more like how to say, not really black metal, but in a more blackened kind of direction with that album. A little bit more maybe black and roll kind of vibe to it, but also we added we skipped a lot of the folk instruments and started doing a lot of brass instruments instead, like trumpets, trombones, saxophones. We even had a brass quartet play on the album. So the whole folk metal scene got so watered down. So, but with that album, we went into more a little bit like how to say, like a little bit more underground again, and we played a little like smaller venues again. We had more black metal oriented bands with us. We had like Rotting Christ and Samael and stuff, bands like that warming up for us. So we decided to change direction a bit, and yeah. So that was that, and then we toured a lot. We did the 10-year anniversary of the Notfin album tour, and all of a sudden, many years had passed, and we yeah we just realized that it's been 6 years since we released an album. So we started writing new music again, and Vreth was born, and in 2020 we released that one. And yeah, now it's been a little bit different. We are not playing 200 shows per year anymore. We are trying to keep it down, to have better shows instead of a lot of shows nowadays. Uh, and also, of course, we got older, and some of the people in the band got families and stuff, so we cannot be out there for hundreds of days per year anymore. But yeah, we are in a good place, and we actually have a really great tour. Actually, one of those big folk metal tours that we used to do between 2010 and 2013 are having a comeback next year, Heidenfest tour. So we're actually going to go on that one with Korpiklaani and yeah, and with Trollfest, good friends so far from Norway, and yeah, it's going to be a cool tour. So yeah, so lots of things happening and lots have happened.
Now let's talk about your work with End Oceans and Dispit, your other main
Yeah,
band.
yeah. Well, yeah, and Oceans is kind of a interesting chapter because they are from my hometown. I'm from a small town in Finland with uh, uh, just under 20,000 people. And when I was young, when I started my first black metal band in 97, 98, and Oceans released their first album in 98. And we were really happy to have that kind of band from our city. And later on, some years later, in beginning of 2000, uh, I became friends with the Oceans guys, and and end of 90s, beginning of 2000 something, and we were hanging out. I was really happy with the band, because it was a big band coming from my hometown. In the beginning they were signed by Season of Mist, and then got signed by Century Media, so it was a big thing. The band toured all over Europe back then, and yeah, I was proud to be from the same city as that band. And and I've known the guys since, I've known them for 25 years and more. And some years ago, they decided to, I think it was 2017, that it was time to do a reunion. Just in the beginning, it was only supposed to be like some kind of, how to say, like nostalgia gigs, playing old material, and having a good time and remembering, the past decades when they made music. And but at some point, the guys, they decided that let's try and make some new music. And Timo, the guitar player, contacted me, asked me if I wanted to produce the guitars, because I also work as a sound engineer and as a producer, uh, and to produce a lot of metal music myself. So he asked me if I wanted to produce the guitars for the album, and I said, yeah, definitely, because I was really into the band, back in the day in the 90s, and yeah, so I said, like, yeah, it would be an honor to produce the guitars. That's because yeah, really like the band. And I just told him like a joke, and said, like, yeah, and if you're gonna kick out the original singer, I know all the songs already, so just, you can hire me. And he said, like, yeah, let's see what's happened. You never know. And maybe I think it was like a month later or something, he called me, and when I saw that he was calling me on the phone, I was like, okay, this is it. I knew what was gonna happen. And when I answered, he said, like, yeah, so yeah, so yeah, you told me that you know all the songs. Do you want to join the band? I said, like, yeah, yeah, definitely. I was up for it. And we uh we did that album. Sadly, the COVID era came, and we it was released during the pandemic. Well, just before actually the pandemic started. So that sort of took away a little bit of the possibilities to tour and do gigs. So we didn't play that much on the first album, actually, the first comeback album. But then on the second album in 22, we released the second comeback album with Oceans, and we got to do the first European tour in over 20 years, almost 20. But yeah, well, it's yeah, in 21 years. So that was really cool to go back out there with these guys. And now we're playing quite a lot of shows. We had some quite big festivals this summer, and in December we're actually gonna go on a tour. We have I think it's 10 shows in Europe in December right now, and yeah, and next year we have a lot of plans as well. So yeah, here we are with a new third album, third comeback album out, and here we are, and it's looking really great. I really liked being in that band. It's a yeah, it's something else, you know. Done a lot of Fintroll the last 20 years, and it's nice to do something a little bit different. That's also why I like you asked me about Dispute, and that's a band we have actually been around now for 10 years. So we're just kind of strange to think that it actually been already 10 years since we started that band. But Dispute is a little bit different. It's me and the guitar player Uwe. We are both come from like a punk background as well. So him and me, we wanted to do something connected a little bit to the punk, but the Dispute is not purely a punk band. It's also got all these old school death metal and black metal influences as well. So it's not purely like a crust punk band. But yeah, that band is now going pretty well as well. You know, we have a lot of other things with other bands, so Dispute is not that. It's not the first choice. You know, all the other bands they have a priority over Dispute, of course, because me and Uwe treat it more like a therapy band. You know, when we have the time and when we want to do something just for fun and something different, we do. We actually recorded yesterday. Now when we were talking, we were actually in the studio yesterday with Dispute, and we are recording some new songs for a split that we're doing, a split record. Uh, and in this spring, we actually released our third full-length album. So, so yeah, and we have played two shows this year with this beat, so not that much. And actually, the upcoming weekend, yeah, on Friday, we're actually gonna go to play. Uh, we play in Estonia. So we have some small shows here and there when we have the time for it, and really, really like to do that band. It's no stress kind of situation, you know. We when we have time for it, we do some things.
If you want to be
Right.
remembered for an album in your career, an album you have done, which is and why?
Well, this is a hard one. Well, of course, Fintroll's album Nifelvind, that is still my the favorite of the Fintroll albums that I did. That one is, of course, something that I want to be remembered for because that album was a game changer. That album changed changed my life. You know, it took us from with Fintroll from okay, we played quite a lot on the Yrjordens Djup album, but with the Nifelvind album, actually could manage to live off the music. You know, we could I could pay all my bills and my rent and live like a like a normal normal person with salary for the first time in my life and totally yeah be living off music. So that's something that I really want to be remembered by, of course. Uh, it's a good album also. As I said, it's my favorite Fintroll album. Uh, Also the new And Oceans album, I'm really happy with that one because I'm most happy with the vocals on that album that I'd ever been with anything before. I had really time to try different things this time and do something that I really can, stand by. So that's an album that I'm super happy with as well. So, well, I could only pick one, but I picked two.
Okay. What about the plans of Fintroll and your personal plans for this end of 2025 and for the beginning of 2026?
Well, Fintroll, we have only got one show left this year. We are only gonna play in actually in this small island here between Finland and Sweden called Åland. We're gonna play a festival over there, and that's the only show we have left for this year. But we're gonna start preparing for the long tour that starts in January. We have some Finland shows in January with Fintroll as well. But for me right now, it's of course this weekend it's gonna be the dispute shows. But also I'm gonna start working towards the Oceans tour that's gonna happen in December, where we play all over Europe. You know, it's we have 10 shows. Yeah, we have Germany, Netherlands, France, Italy. Actually, we're coming to Italy, so that's really nice. We're playing in Milano at the Legend Club. I played there many times with Fintroll before. Germany, yeah, Austria, Slovakia, Czech Republic. So it's gonna be a nice tour with a little bit like all ends of Europe in there. So yeah, so check that out. That's gonna be cool.
So thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for staying today. Good luck for your project.
Thank you.
Bye.